The new Black Clover chapter has proven once again that everything we've told you so far has come true, or at least goes in the direction we've been telling you since the first chapter of the Land of the Rising Sun arc. We have told you that Lucius must know about the existence of this land and that it was no coincidence that Asta landed in the Land of the Rising Sun. At the end of this new Black Clover chapter, Beelzebub Lily suddenly appears, who by the way, completely obeys Lucius Zogratis and says that she has heard rumors about this land but now knows that it really exists. Perhaps Lucius let Asta live because he knew that somehow he would end up in the Land of the Rising Sun, with Asta then somehow helping them to find that land. Or maybe Lucius really is working from the beginning with whoever is responsible for why the Yami clan was eliminated, be it Ryu, Lucifugus, or Yami himself, or whoever it may be. In any case, it's no coincidence that after Yami wiped out his entire clan, he was picked up in the Clover Kingdom as the source of the Cliffith Tree by Lucius Zogratis. And as mentioned, it seems that Lucius Zogratis could be responsible for why Asta was sent to the Land of the Rising Sun, whether he did something directly or indirectly. There he was then picked up by Ryu, who is none other than the Shogun of the land, a position similar to the one Lucius Zogratis had as Julius Novachrono, with time magic in the Clover Kingdom. Just as Ryu also has the ability to see through time. There are far too many connections between Lucius and the Land of the Rising Sun. Let's talk about it. If you end up liking this video, consider subscribing. Please enjoy this video. Let's go! Let's talk about the new Black Clover chapter 343. There's not much to say about this chapter because it basically just shows the fight between Asta and Ichika. And here it pretty much confirms what we suspected a few chapters ago, Asta in his full Devil Union mode. Not the one with the 5 horns, but the one he also used against Lucius, so definitely at the edge of his maximum power. Could not win against Ichika. And that's so weird. Ichika is as strong as the rest of the 6 Ryuzen, with Ryu being even stronger, as we will see in a moment. So the Land of the Rising Sun has 8 powerful warriors on the same level as Asta and some maybe even more powerful. And nonetheless they didn't bother to stop the Dark Triad and Lucius Zogratis before it was too late. Especially with Ryu's all-seeing eye. He saw what was happening to Yami and William and probably even saw it coming. And yet he didn't bother to help. Possibly he knew that if he interfered early he could stop the Undying Body spell, but Lucius would still be the strongest, so perhaps this present timeline is the only one in which Lucius can lose. And then of course, we still don't know about the mysterious restriction between the Land of the Rising Sun and the continent of the 4 kingdoms. What are the requirements to enter the other land? Why couldn't Asta return without help, but Yami with a simple fishing boat? But let's be honest, almost everything Yami said is not true anyway. So who knows? In any case, there's a mystery about how to move between the 2 countries, which is picked up again at the end of the chapter, but more on that in a moment. If there's no such restriction, then Ryu must know something about the future that the others don't, which is why he let Lucius reach his goal without interfering, even accepting that the Paladins will attack the Land of the Rising Sun. However, we don't know their intentions. Are they working with Ryu or against him? There are far too many things to consider. More on that later as well. It's worth mentioning that Asta has noticed that although Ichika has some sort of hatred for him and Yami, her grudge isn't the only thing he can feel. There's something else. Asta didn't mention what it is, but it could be sadness and hope that maybe Asta is right about Yami. Maybe even confusion when she herself doubts the story that Yami killed her clan, even though she saw it with her own eyes. Or maybe Ichika is controlled by Ryu, and he can feel her real subconscious. Maybe she even doubts Ryu but doesn't admit it. I'm sure those emotions Asta could feel with the help of Ki will become relevant in a few chapters. Asta thinks about using his Zetten technique and is somehow confident that he might be able to execute it perfectly. But before the final clash between Asta and Ichika, Ryu appears out of nowhere and stabs both of them with just 2 hands, as if they were little kids fighting in a sandbox. This is insane. This man can probably take on Lucius, which then again throws us back to why he and his 7 Ryuzen didn't stop the Dark Triad. But anyway, Ryu then suddenly noticed the presence of the Paladins, probably seeing them coming anyway. The scene cuts to Beelzebub Lily and the two new paladins. And then the chapter ends with Beelzebub Lily saying, "I have only heard about it, but it really exists, the land of the rising sun." And that sentence alone has a great impact. But before we get to that, let's talk about the two new paladins. One of them could be Raids, a very interesting choice. He's the only one with such hair, face and smile. If you have another idea, let us know in the comments. Some people say Ravchi, but Ravchi has black hair. For this video we'll just assume it's Raids because it really looks like him just with longer hair, which fits to the time skip. And what is even more surprising is the third paladin, a person who has been presumed dead for about 330 chapters, Heath Grice. Here it is important to understand what exactly a paladin is. Lucius in fact did not refer to himself as a paladin, although he clearly had the same form as Beelzebub Lily. Lucius called her the first of her kind, so apparently not all people with this form are called paladins. Or Lucius just didn't see himself as a paladin even though he theoretically is one. Perhaps he sees himself more as a god, although he and the paladins are one and the same race. The way Lucius explained it, this angelic form is created by taking the soul of a devil and redeeming it by turning it into a holy power. This is probably based on demonology according to which devils are originally angels, that is, fallen angels, who were banished from heaven to hell because of their rebellion against God, led by Lucifero. In hell they then transformed into devils over time. So Lucius takes the soul of a devil and turns it back into an angel, but instead of turning the devil itself into an angel, he puts the purified soul into the body of a human, combining the human soul and the soul of the angel. The result is this angelic form. That the souls are combined is shown by the fact that while Beelzebub Lily can clearly use space magic, indicating that she is now possessed by Beelzebub's angel soul, she still has Sister Lily's memory, as she knows all the names and also appears to know Sister Lily's past. She even acts like Sister Lily, imitating her gestures. For example, when she touches her face with one hand, this is something that only Sister Lily does. So the idea is that this is the Undying Body spell. All devil souls transform into angel souls and then merge with human souls, creating these creatures. But are these all paladins? It might be that only those who have a purified soul of a supreme devil are also considered paladins. At least that is how Lucius has presented it. And that fits because paladin is a title given to the best warriors, so a title, not a race. But it could also be that absolutely any human soul that has been fused with a purified devil soul is considered a paladin. In this case, Lucius simply did not want to put himself on the same level as the others, which is why he called Sister Lily the first of her kind. So depending on what a paladin really is, Raids or whoever that is and Heath are either possessed by two purified supreme devil souls or two normal devils whose souls have been purified. Before we talk about how they made it to the land of the rising sun and what Beelzebub Lily meant at the end of the chapter, let's take a closer look at the two new paladins. Let's just call them paladins for now. First we have Raids, at least for now we assume it's him. The reason it's so interesting is because Raids actually has the same magic as Lucius. Yes, this man has insane potential. He's so dangerous in fact that he wasn't allowed to join the Magic Knights. However, there's a little difference. Although Raids does have soul magic, his soul magic only applies to dead people. That is why it's called soul corpse magic. With his magic, he has the ability to reanimate and control corpses. He can also take souls that have left their bodies and put them into other bodies. And that's just the surface of what he's capable of. His grimoire has only a single page so far, with only 2 spells: corpse control and resurrection. But here's the thing, Lucius Zogratis planned to create immortal bodies by bringing the dead back to life. He told Xenon that first the weak must die, and then be reborn stronger. This is the Undying Body spell, and with Raids, this is possible. Raids has soul magic that works on dead people, and Lucius has soul magic that works on living people. So they have control over the dead and the living. And the best example of this is Heath Grice, a character who apparently died at the beginning of Black Clover. That is, if he actually died. Maybe there will be a twist reveal later. It may not be a coincidence why Tabata chose these 2 characters to accompany Beelzebub Lily to the land of the rising sun. Maybe he was trying to tell us something like, look, this is Raids, he has control over the dead souls. And here's Heath, a character who died about 330 chapters ago. So put 1 and 1 together and you understand that this is about the Undying Body spell, and Raids might have something to do with it. Definitely possible. I give the mic to my partner, he will continue this review. Have fun.
But enough talking about Raiders, let's move on to Heath. We didn't make a separate video about this guy because let's just face it, no one wanted to see a whole video about him. So we mentioned this idea and our suspicions a few times in all kinds of theories and reviews. We suspect that Heath has something to do not only with Bathory, but also with Julius. Perhaps Tabata did this on purpose because Heath has always been in contact with Lucius Zogratis and was undercover in the Eye of the Midnight Sun. Somehow, Lucius had to learn how far Bathory had already prepared the reincarnation, because with that, Lucius had to separate William and Bathory so that William could be used as a source for the Clifford. We know that Heath sacrificed himself, so maybe Lucius promised him that he would bring him back to life with an undying body. But there are some other strange things in this first story arc. Come on, let's take a closer look. At Yami's request, Magda, Noel and Asta were given the job of hunting a boar in the village of Saucy because he had promised an old man to do him a favor since he lost the bet. Sends Asta on an unauthorized mission to a remote village, an almost inhabitable realm where almost no one lives or ever goes, but which happens to become a battlefield to retrieve one of the magic stones, which in itself is a great coincidence. Heath and Asta at the same time in such a place with a magic stone. I mean, come on! But even stranger is that this seemingly insignificant villain, who can be associated with a pocket watch, that is with time, an attribute that fits Lucius, later appears as a paladin controlled by Lucius in the land of the rising sun, the land where Yami is from, who in turn is responsible for why Asta was sent on this unofficial mission. Come on! Now, if we assume that Yami is somehow involved in an evil plot, whether he's truly evil and has slaughtered his family, or has been forced, or has been even controlled, then perhaps he's still pursuing the same goal as he was when he was a child, consciously or unconsciously, just as Julius unconsciously pursued Lucius' plan without ever noticing. Did Yami really give Asta the chance to join the Black Bulls, or did he know that Asta would participate in the exam from the beginning? And his speech was just a big show so that no one would suspect why Yami invited a magicless boy into his squad. We know that Yami was looking for something or someone in the place where all the participants gathered. His explanation to Finral was that he was lost, but of course that must have been a lie. The fact that Yami could be a liar is not so hard to believe by now, considering his little Hino Country story. Yami has supervised the exam as a captain several times and also participated in the exam himself when he was 15 years old. He knows this place pretty well. It is impossible that he got lost. So what if he was actually looking for a person without magic? After finding Asta and knowing who to choose, he went back and acted normal again. Then, right after he chose Asta, he sent him on this absurd unauthorized mission to hunt the boar that suddenly involved a magic stone and a magic knight who happens to show up in Yami's homeland at the end of the series. Very strange indeed. So let's take a closer look at Heath Grice and the first story arc of Black Clover. Heath was introduced with a pocket watch in his hand. He followed the specific time schedule. Was this his own prediction, or did someone tell him what must happen? What is the deal with this watch anyway? Is that part of his character, or was that watch given to him by someone? At the time, we had no reason to ask ourselves such questions, but now it really makes sense considering that Lucius chose such a seemingly insignificant person to be one of the paladins. The last time a clock was highlighted, it was because Lucius manipulated an entire war. So it is not unlikely that Lucius also had something to do with Heath. During the fight, one of the villains confirmed that Yami sent the Black Bulls on an unauthorized mission, which is a very strange coincidence since Yami is thus suspected of having done so intentionally, even though he may not be aware of it. And the fact that the villains knew the mission plan of the Magic Knight speaks to the involvement of the Wizard King, since he knows all the missions. William shouldn't really have access to all the missions of other captains. Maybe this is a small hint that Lucius was really involved, and we thought that at that time this information came from William. Throughout the fight, Heath keeps looking at his watch. Then he talked about stealing time, which could be a hint to a possible connection to Lucius. His time magic is based on stealing time, as described by Julius Novachrono. After Asta defeated him, he said that he wished he could obey his master even more. But which master did he mean? Was he talking about Bathory, or maybe even Lucius? We know that Heath was definitely a part of the Eye of the Midnight Sun, but it has never been confirmed that Heath actually referred to Bathory as his master. Then, after Heath was caught, he used a self-destruct spell and seemed to have died. His grimoire was dissolved, indicating that he died. Back at the Black Bull base, the watch was highlighted once again. It was said that the watch was valuable. Whatever the secret of this watch is, it's either hinted in the connection to Lucius, or it showed numbers that could be relevant to Black Clover. Perhaps a small clue that Tabata placed. Now that we have discussed everything about the two new paladins, let's talk about how they got to the land of the rising sun and what Beelzebub Lily meant when she said that she's only heard rumors about the land of the rising sun. Think about how strange that is. Was that Beelzebub who heard rumors about the land of the rising sun when he was in the underworld? And if so, what caused this rumor to spread in hell among the highest devils? This would mean that the land of the rising sun is indeed connected with devils. Probably with the devil Lucius, who we assume is the devil of dark magic, or maybe in contact with Yami, or even in a contact with the Yami clan. But then, this would not be just a rumor, but actually the truth. If Lucius has a contact with the people in the land of the rising sun, Beelzebub would not doubt it. So this doesn't fit. But can we really assume that Beelzebub still has his memories, just as Sister Lily kept the memories? Because her soul was not changed, as is the case with Beelzebub's soul. The human soul was simply merged with another soul. Beelzebub's soul, on the other hand, was completely purified. So maybe Beelzebub Lily's knowledge of the land of the rising sun did not come from Beelzebub, but from Sister Lily. This would then mean that Sister Lily might actually have something to do with the land of the rising sun, which might even explain why the same kind of potatoes grow on the land of the rising sun as in the village of Hodge. This could then also explain who was responsible for Asta ending up in the land of the rising sun when Beelzebub Lily wanted to finish him off. Maybe at that moment, the last bit of Sister Lily's consciousness intervened and redirected the spell to the land of the rising sun, knowing that this land might exist, and so she tried to teleport Asta to Ryu instead. In this case, Sister Lily was not sure of his existence, but still tried to teleport Asta there, which could explain the sentence at the end of the chapter that Beelzebub Lily only heard rumors about this land. Or the last possibility is that Lucius ordered Beelzebub Lily to teleport Asta away, knowing full well that Asta would somehow end up in the land of the rising sun. Or he ordered Sister Lily to teleport Asta to a certain region or a direction because he knew that the land of the rising sun was there. Because remember, Lucius gave Asta a cut that didn't result in his death, and when he had the opportunity to finish Asta off, he didn't do it. So it definitely looks like Lucius wasn't done with Asta and had to let him do one more thing. Something in the land of the rising sun, which is why he let him live. In this case, Beelzebub Lily was informed by Lucius about the land of the rising sun. This in turn would confirm her suspicions that Lucius knows about the Hino Country and that it was always been a part of his plan, whether he's working with Ryu or not. As mentioned many times, it is not a coincidence that Yami apparently killed his entire clan just before he landed in the Clover Kingdom, where Lucius used him as a source for the Clifford. So there must be someone in the land of the rising sun who is working with Lucius. And the last question to answer is how exactly they got to the land of the rising sun, considering that Ryu said Asta couldn't return without help, but the three paladins obviously had no problem with that. It may either be that Ryu was lying or that it has something to do with teleportation and different dimensions. Remember that Nacht gave us several possibilities of where Asta could be. Either he's dead, or in another continent, or in another dimension. We naturally assume that it must be another continent, but what if it's much more complicated than that? Which would explain why Ryu said that Asta can't leave without help, while at the same time it would make sense why a space magic user like Beelzebub Lily could teleport not only Asta to the land of the rising sun but herself as well. This would also explain why Beelzebub Lily behaves so mysteriously, as if the land of the rising sun were some kind of a fairy tale. Maybe it is really from another dimension. This would then also mean that Yami must have been teleported by someone else. It could also be that they only found their way to this land because they teleported Asta first and thus were able to find this land with the help of Asta somehow. Whatever it might be, we will learn much more about this in the next chapter. It will be very important to understand what exactly is going on. That's it for today, folks. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to smash the like button, and if you're new to our channel, make sure you subscribe with the notification bell turned on. See you guys in the next video. Yami out.